It's time to raid real space. Here at Tattoo Tabletop, we have a lot of fun, so be sure to like, share, subscribe. It's all completely free and it helps me out. And if you really want to help me out, come join our Patreon. Link is in the description where you can come post and talk about your favorite minis. Now back to the video. Welcome to Tattoo Tabletop. My name is James, and today we are reviewing the new Drukhari Codex. So, first and foremost, this cover, 11 out of 10. I love the little raider in the background here with the sail cresting across the sun. It reminded me very much of Star Wars, if Star Wars was a complete nightmare of murder elves. That being said, it's been a long time coming. So, how did it turn out? Obviously, there's plenty of other reviewers who have put out their reviews, their thoughts, their feelings on the entirety of the codex, but I'm going to give you my abridged version. When it comes to these codex reviews, I like to try and give you the cliff notes because realistically, if you wanted the deep dive, the every single data sheet, the every single ability, the every single detachment, there are plenty of other incredible creators who are doing just that for you. So, in my case, what do I think of the new Drukhari book? Well, I love it. Plain and simple. It is a fantastic book. I consider Drukhari one of the most interesting factions in Warhammer 40,000 because they're just different, right? They're Eldari, but they're not Eldari. I call them sometimes the anti-army because, well, a lot of their keywords have anti in them. Their splinter rifles have anti-infantry. Their haywires, anti-vehicle. They have a ton of abilities like that, including some that have devastating wounds, things of that nature. Each thing has a purpose. Now, what is one of the biggest changes from the OG to the new one? Well, the biggest change for it specifically is how pain tokens work. So you still gather them in the very same way. The pain token economy has changed a bit for the better. But the biggest thing is each unit in this book has a pain ability. So instead of necessarily a blanket statement of pain tokens give you reroll hits and so on and so forth, instead it's now tied to their data sheet. So each thing has its own pain ability that enhances it. A good example, so mandrakes, now you pay a pain token for them to do their uppy downy. Instead of having to actually like come back down right away, they can actually just go up and stay there for a second and then come back down. It makes it a little bit more flexible for them, and I think it's just a kind of a cooler function. Also, it makes every unit unique, which in turn gives it a function, a form, a purpose. And I think that that is inevitably for the benefit of the game. I think it makes this army a little bit more interesting, a little bit more unique. And I think that there's a lot of auto takes in this book, which means that you're going to see a wider variety of list builds, and I'm very, very excited for it. So let's dive in, let's talk about a few things, and let's get to it. Today's video is sponsored by The Forge for all your hobby nerd needs. Whether it's Warhammer 40k, Age of Sigmar, Marvel Crisis Protocol, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Lorcana, and a plethora of board games, The Forge has what you need. The Forge has been my go-to shop, and the inventory has only grown. If there's something you don't see on the shelves, fill out a product request form on their website. Thank you to The Forge for sponsoring this video. So let's just start with some of the detachment bits. So right off the bat, you still have Real Space Raid. It has changed a little bit. I think it still looks very appealing. A lot of the enhancements like Labyrinthine Cunning, spending a pain token to gain a CP, or rolling a D6 and on a 4+ gaining a CP. Very nice, very flexible. It's going to be able to fuel a little bit more, especially because this detachment has two CP strats, which still can be good. One is an Homunculus Covenant's -1 damage, which is obviously a very nice ability, and also a Raid and Fade, which at the end of your shooting phase, up to 2 Kabbalite Warrior units, so specifically Kabbalite Warriors, and excluding Scourges and Aircraft, those units can make a normal move of 6, and that's at the end of your shooting phase, so you can actually move them out, get their shots off, and then move them back. So whenever you have something like that, that's always a good ability. 2 CP can be very expensive, but with something like Labyrinthine Cunning and some of the other mechanics, you're probably going to be okay to have those. So Real Space Raid is going to be running everybody. You have the Sky Splinter Assault, which is still a bit of everybody. That's very transport heavy. Almost nothing has really changed. And I don't think it really needed to, if I'm being honest. I think Sky Splinter Assault is still a really solid detachment. I think we'll still see it running around, especially because the boats got better. A lot better, in my opinion. And I think that that's going to still be very much a play. Here you have the Spectacle Spite, which is based around your witch units, which are going to be great. They brought back combat drugs, which is great. There's a fun little mechanic where you can just select one, or you can roll for 2, which is super awesome. Adds a nice bit of randomness to it, can make it a very fun kind of gameplay there. Fantastic strats in there. You have the Covenant Coterie, which is probably the weakest, but if you wanted to just run all homunculus, the army or the detachment rule for it specifically is the strength is greater than your toughness, -1 to the wound roll. That's pretty solid because a lot of your homunculus stuff is decently tough, elf things considered. Your racks are T4, Talos is, I want to say, T7, stuff like that. So you have stuff that is like a little bit tougher, and getting just a flat -1 to wound is always a strong ability. And there's some really cool abilities built into there, like homunculi your pain ability is to bring back D3+1 models. Just you're playing Soulblight Gravelords in friggin' Drukhari, and that board presence could be really massive. So I think that there's a lot of cool stuff in there as well. And one of my favorites, the Kabbalite Cartel. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be one of my favorite detachments. Basically, you pick a contract. So your contract, you pick one character unit. Your Cabal and Blade for Hire units get precision. Pick a contract, which is one infantry or mounted character that gives you sustained 1 against infantry and mounted, all infantry and mounted. And then short strength, select one monster vehicle, and then you get lethal hits against monsters and vehicles, which is a great ability. And then, of course, if you complete your contract, you get 3 pain tokens. So you could possibly fill out a contract a few times, because after you kill it, spend a CP, get a new one. You can or you can change it in the middle of it. Just get a different one. And there's like some other cool abilities. I really like this one. Taken Alive, 1 CP, fight phase. 1 Drukhari unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase until the end of the phase. Each time a model in your unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. So, just a flat +1, but there's more. Specifically, if your contract unit is destroyed as a result of those attacks, every unit in your opponent's army must take a battle shock test. You cannot gain more than 3 pain tokens as a result of failed battle shock tests caused by the stratagem. So you can potentially get up to 3 pain tokens if you're battle shocking their entire army. But I like that idea that you get your target and it scares your entire army. That could possibly cost them a home objective. That could cost them other things. So I think it's just kind of a fun little strategy, and that's 1 CP. That's a really cool one that gives you a +1 to hit and then just makes your opponent take a giant battle shock test. So I think that's a lot of fun as well. There's a lot of cool flexibility in it. So you got 5 full detachments, not including Reaper's Wager, which I know a lot of people have talked about. That Reaper's Wager is still very much going to be the competitive pick for Drukhari. I think this is awesome. I think this is fun. This is going to be a great book, and I am really looking forward to it. Literally right behind this camera right now, I have 2 Raiders, a Ravager, and I have 10 more Kabbalite Warriors, 10 Witch Cult units or witches, and I have 10 Hellions. I'm really excited. I'm working furiously on the army. It very well might be the army that I'm bringing to Renegade, which will be in November. So, keep your eyes peeled on the channel here. Of course, if you like this content, feel free to like, share, subscribe, please, and thank you. I'll give you one more reminder at the end, but just want to throw that in there now. Don't know why I just did a Bill Clinton voice a little bit there. So, data sheets. What are we looking at? Archon. He's up on a 32 base now. So, I've got to rebase one of my old Archons, which honestly, I might just get like a 32, clip the rim on like the smaller one, just like plan them on there and just build up texture or something. I'm just going to make it easier on myself and not try and like clip him off his rock and go through all that crap. Still an auto include. You can spend a pain token and you re-roll the hit roll for whatever unit. And of course, they can be attached to Incubi and Kabbalites, which makes them very, very effective. Still has the 2-up invulnerable save until you fail it, which is awesome. And the Soul Trap, which is a new equipment thing. That's that little fire thing he's holding. Basically, you add 1 to the attacks and strength characteristics of his melee weapons, and then the first time he kills a model, just a model, not anyone, not a character, not anything special or unique or anything like that, he kills something and he gains an additional 1 to the attacks and strength. So things like his Husk Blades go up to 6 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 3 -2, damage 3, but also they have devastating wounds. So it makes him really, really effective. And of course, he reduces the cost of things by 1 CP. So there's a lot of 1 CP strats in this army, which is fan-freaking-tastic. Lady Malice, the new character, auto-include. That's all you really need to know. She's an auto-include. She basically has her own little thing. Her pain token is giving a unit sustained or lethal. Sustained 1 or lethal. She also can redeploy up to 3 units before the battle begins. That's always massive. Putting things, especially since a lot of the things in your army do have deep strike. Raiders have deep strike. Ravagers have deep strike. You can literally just drop a boat. That's awesome. And being able to just like put something out aggressively, making it seem like to your opponent that you're going first and you're just going to send it, and then they place their stuff appropriately, and then you just pull them up. It's super, super nice. And of course, she has a Vect, or AKA increasing the cost of strats by 1 CP. So I think Lady Malice is an auto include. She's going to make it into just about every list, and she's a cool model. So that's always a plus as well. I can't wait to get my hands on the new Archon, but that'll have to be later. Hand of the Archon replaced the Court of the Archon, but not well. I guess it's a nice way to kind of try and give them something, try and give them a purpose, but I feel like looking at a lot of the abilities is not necessarily going to be completely worth it. They can potentially get a 5-up invulnerable save as opposed to just a flat 6. It's all right. It's not going to be much. Jazar is still in here. Incubi still looking great. Again, getting dev wounds against infantry for the Incubi, not to mention every time that you're in the fight phase, enemy units in engagement range are taking a battle shock test. So that could be massive. Your opponent could be like, oh yeah, I'm going to prop this strat to finish off this Incubi unit, and it's going to guarantee it. And then you're just like, take a battle shock test and they fail, and then they can't strat. Could be massive. Lilith, still an absolute beast, an absolute murder machine. Cobalites are also going to be an auto-include. Like, I always thought Cobalites were an auto-include for me personally, because I think they're one of the cooler elf models. I love the idea of the Drukhari, because in a game and in a world like Warhammer 40,000 where nobody's the good guy, Drukhari are definitively the bad guy. And I think that's interesting. That's compelling to get these devious, plotting murder elves who live in this little pocket dimension, essentially, in a web way somewhere. And they're raiders. And it's such an interesting dynamic. And I love the boats. I love their aesthetic. I seriously can't wait to play them. But so Cobalites for me were always a non-negotiable. Like I said, Lilith is still going to absolutely wreck face. Pairing her up with witches is going to make her just absolutely click off. Here's the biggest upgrade to this book, for sure. Your units that were never being seen before, like Reavers or Hellions, got a beautiful facelift. Reavers alone, they move 16, which is already great with fly. And if they fly over something, you roll a d6 for each model in the unit. 4-up suffers a mortal wound, excluding monsters and vehicles. And you can also get some caltrops, so on and so forth. You get there's little upgrades here and there, but here's the real kick. When you spend a pain token and you select the unit to advance, you can spend 1 pain token and it comes empowered, which is what it usually does before. Instead of making an advance roll, instead until the end of the phase, add 8 to the move characteristic of this unit. 16 plus 8. This unit can move 2 bloody feet across the table. It can move 24 friggin' inches. That is massive. And not to mention they have a Heat Lance, which is assault. It's essentially a melt of 3, range 18, 1 attack, hits on 3s, strength 14, -4, d6. Well, d6 plus 3 if you're in melter range. You'll get in melter range. This could just be that one alpha strike out of nowhere unit where it literally just sprints up the board right in front of your opponent and then just blasts, and then you just use it to screen. It's massive. So that unit got a massive facelift, which is incredible. Hellions look great. You can spend a pain token on them and add 1 to the attacks and the strengths. The characteristics of their stuff, their Hellglaives are lance and sustained 1, 3 attacks each, hitting on 3s. So strength 5 when they're empowered, which is a great breakpoint, -1 AP, 2 damage. And you get sustained on that, and you get lance. This is going to be insane. Like, they'll be able to murder things like toughness 4 things on 2s. That's huge. Just forcing your opponent. I mean, the AP is low, but there's a lot of ways to also lift the AP in this book. It was very clear that they looked at every unit and they gave it a purpose. This is something that these codexes have been doing really well, in my opinion. They've been really good about giving everything a form and a function, because there's a lot of people that will look at a book and they'll be like, oh yeah, this is all good, this is all trash. No. In this book, I think each thing has a purpose, it has a role, because let's face it, we've had quite a few times now where plenty of people have overreacted to the release of a codex and have given it a bad review, when in fact it was just a change of gameplay. People berated the World Eaters book when it came out, but the World Eaters have been doing pretty good. They have good board control, they have shooting, they have different roles and functions. These are the things that I try and teach on this channel. Changing your mindset to something that's more of looking at a book, and instead of being like, this is good, this is bad, is looking at as, what is this form or function? What is this purpose? Prime example. If we flip over past the Homunculus Covenants, which again I still think are fun, I'm still going to include some. Talos, Kronos, they have different roles. Mandrakes, still an auto-include. But Scourges. Scourges got split into 2 different units. And so you have Scourges with heavy weapons, which still have their same abilities, the Fire and Fade, which is great. It's still phenomenal. It's all your heavy weapons. But you also have Scourges with Shard Carbines, which are very basic. They shoot 3 shots. Anti-infantry 3+, assault, hits on 3, strength 2. But what is their main point? Well, because they're not going to blow anything up, but what they're going to do is, in your movement phase, you can spend 1 pain token to empower this unit and can be deep striked within 6 instead of 9, which is massive. They don't charge, but they can still deep strike within 6, which means your weapons are going to be in range. Because their default army ability is Murderous Crossfire. After this unit has shot, select one enemy unit hit by one of those attacks. Just hit, not wounded. To the end of the phase, each time a friendly Drukhari unit makes a ranged attack against that enemy unit, improve the armor penetration characteristic by 1. You can only affect it once per turn, but you can on that same enemy unit though. So you could get 2 of these, which spoiler alert, I want to say they're around 60 points. So they're extremely cheap. Your pain token economy is greater, so you can deep strike them within 6, and then you're just going to shoot things. You don't care if you kill them. They're 60 points. They're here to just do one thing, and that's to give you extra AP. Spread the extra AP. Then your Dark Lances are going to freaking fly all the way up to freaking -4 AP. So your 2-up save stuff's on a 6, unless it's got an invuln, and it's D6 plus 2 damage. You're going to put in work. Even on Cobalite Splinter Rifles, giving your Splinter Rifles just a +1 AP, that's going to be a lot of shots just popping in and doing a ton of work. It's absolutely massive. I think they're incredible. Ravagers, I think, are still great. I love the gunboats. They're going to be great. Venoms are still kind of considered an auto-include just for splitting your units into 2-5 groups. The Raider now has one of the coolest goddamn abilities. It now does, it's called Vanguard of the Dark City. At the beginning of the phase, you choose one for each one. So at the beginning of the phase, Masters of the Shadows Guide for Cobalite Warriors basically makes the objective sticky. So your Cobalites can be in the boat and give something sticky. Speed of the Kill for Witches, they can disembark 6 from the boat. So instead of disembarking the usual 3, you're disembarking 6, which is going to give you so much extra movement, especially when you can pop a pain token on Witches and give them advance in charge. The speed is going to be insane. I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be caught out by the speed that this army actually does have and how tactical it can play. And then, of course, Visions of Butchery. I think this one's fun. While 1 or more Rax units are embarked on this model, for each Rax model embarked on this model, so up to 11, I want to say. So up to 10, because you have that in a leader. They get +1 to their attacks characteristics on the Blade Veins. So your Blade Veins is D3 plus 3, so maxing it is 6. But plus another 10 and weapon skill 4, strength 6, -1/1. Like it's kind of to me, it's kind of good. Like, it's not going to be like you're like, oh yeah, this is going to for sure lock in the game, but you can't tell me that that's not going to do some work on the back end. Just literally being able to just drop that is going to be massive. So I think that's awesome. They also have a nice little cool page, War Gear, where they show the pictures of the weapons. So then that way, when it says Hex Rifle, you know what it looks like. I think they should include this for all the books. So that way, when you are building your army, and you're looking at a data sheet or something like that, you don't have to Google it. You can just look in here and be like, oh, that's what that looks like. That's the sprue I'm looking for, which is great. Of course, the Crusade rules, all that. Again, just the overview. So again, what do I think about this book? This book is incredible. I think Drukhari players should have a lot of fun with it. I know some people are still kind of down on the book, but if Skari is excited, you should be excited. Skari is a masterclass in Drukhari playing, so of course, if you're ever looking for someone who's really going to guide you through it, I'd highly recommend Scardcast. He is on YouTube. He's on all the stuff. Go check him out. He's fighting for that #1 spot, best Drukhari player in the world. And Skari, if you're watching this, I believe in you, man. You've absolutely got this. So again, Drukhari book out now. Let me know what you think down in the comments down below. Are you excited for Drukhari? Are you starting Drukhari army, or do you already have a Drukhari army and you're looking at this book trying to figure out what's what? Anyway, just let me know down in the comments down below. And until next time, I don't know about you, but I've got a real space raid to paint, so I think I'm just gonna go paint something.